The dog disrupted the funeral with its relentless barking at the casket. When a man asked why, the priest appeared visibly anxious. This man, David, a newcomer to the village who seemed oddly connected to Hannah, sensed a pressing urgency in Duke's behavior. Duke, Hannah's devoted dog, had always been more than just a pet. He possessed an extraordinary sensitivity that often felt beyond human comprehension. It was a gloomy day, and the air was thick with grief. People clutched handkerchiefs and had tear-streaked faces, reminiscing about joyful times spent with Hannah. The wind whispered through the trees, as if nature itself was honoring her memory. Suddenly, an unexpected sound shattered the stillness, the barking of Duke. His barks grew more intense, and he fixed his gaze on the casket, as if trying to convey something important. David, who had been quietly watching, felt a shiver run down his spine. He understood that Duke wasn't barking without cause. The tension in the atmosphere was tangible, even the children appeared restless, recalling tales of animals sensing the unseen. David cautiously approached Duke, speaking softly, "Hey there, little buddy. What are you trying to tell us?" All eyes turned to David and Duke, eager to see what would unfold next. Hearing David's calm voice, Duke paused his barking, as if he were sizing up the man in front of him. His eyes sparkled with a mix of fear and hope, almost pleading for assistance. David noticed the intensity of that gaze and shifted his focus to the casket, feeling a chill creep down his spine as if something was urging him to uncover the truth of the situation. The congregation in the church began to murmur, a blend of confusion and curiosity. One man tried to break the tension, saying, "Leave the dog alone," but David simply shook his head, responding, "I think Duke is trying to tell us something." He continued to fixate on the casket and added, "Maybe we should listen without delay." David stepped closer to Duke and spoke softly, "Come on, boy, show me what's troubling you." Duke wagged his tail slightly, as if he sensed that David was there to help. The dog then ceased barking and started to sniff the ground, cautiously moving toward the casket, almost as if he were leading David to a secret only he understood. As they approached the casket, whispers spread among the neighbors about the legendary sixth sense of animals, recalling tales of dogs and cats that could sense presences, dangers, or even supernatural occurrences before humans did. Duke's strange behavior left everyone feeling uneasy, and David proposed that perhaps the dog was sensing something beyond human perception. The atmosphere thickened, and people pondered in silence. Could Duke be witnessing something supernatural, or was there a deeper mystery surrounding Hannah's death? Father Michael, clearly unsettled, began to realize that the situation was spiraling out of control. He took a deep breath, adjusted his cassock, and cast a serious glance around. With determined steps, he moved to the center of the church and raised his hands, calling for silence. "Please, everyone, calm down," he said, his voice striving for authority but betraying a slight tremor, revealing his anxiety. "We are here to honor Hannah's memory, not to give in to baseless suspicions." Father Michael's eyes widened in surprise at David's boldness, clearly shaken. He had already told everyone that Hannah had passed away peacefully in her sleep, but David's question echoed through the church like a stone thrown into a calm lake, sending ripples of uncertainty. "What do you mean?" the priest replied, his defensiveness evident. "I found her myself in her bed. She died in peace, sleeping." He repeated this, almost as if trying to convince himself. Unfazed, David stepped forward and pressed on, "But why was Hannah alone, and why were you the first to find her? Doesn't that seem a bit strange to you?" The murmurs among the congregation grew louder, a mix of curiosity and unease spreading throughout the church. The children, wide-eyed, watched without fully grasping the situation, while some adults whispered among themselves, heightening the tension in the air. Father Michael's face flushed with barely concealed anger. He stamped his foot firmly, silencing the crowd once more. "This is absurd," he shouted, his voice rising. "You're causing an uproar during a sacred moment, disrespecting the memory of such a beloved woman," he said, pointing a trembling finger at David. "Leave here immediately, you and that dog." His tone was authoritative, yet a hint of nervousness crept into his words. We will not tolerate another word from you in this place." David hesitated for a moment, but then Duke let out a strong bark, as if challenging the priest and giving David the push he needed to press on. Realizing he had struck a nerve, David understood that the priest was desperate to keep something hidden. Still, he knew he had no choice. Slowly, he turned, grasped Duke's collar, and with one last defiant glance at the priest, began to walk toward the door. The murmurs among the onlookers grew louder, filling the air with tension. With the key in hand, David felt he was on the verge of uncovering the truth. Alongside Duke, he decided to head back to the village center to continue their investigation. The town appeared calm, but David sensed a deeper, darker secret lurking beneath that surface tranquility. He needed to grasp the secrets Hannah had uncovered and what she truly knew about Father Michael. With this in mind, David made his way to the town library, an old building filled with dusty books and ancient documents. He began searching for anything that might connect Hannah and Father Michael to something unusual. After a while, he stumbled upon an old photo album of the town. As he flipped through the pages, David saw pictures of community events, religious festivals, and finally a series of images featuring Hannah. One photo immediately caught his eye. It showed Hannah standing next to Father Michael, but what stood out was her expression, a look of unease, almost as if she was aware of something deeply troubling. What had she discovered? She didn't look happy, she appeared worried. That's when David noticed a detail that almost went unnoticed at the edge of the photo, a small metal box, the same one he had seen in the photograph found at Hannah's house. Driven by curiosity, David returned to her home, determined to follow the clues to the end. Back at the house, he continued his search for more evidence. Behind an old curtain, he found a hidden cabinet. Inside, he discovered a notebook, Hannah's diary. The pages were filled with notes that seemed incredibly significant. David began to read quickly, with Duke by his side, as if the dog could sense the tension in the air. The notes revealed something dark. Hannah had uncovered a network of corruption within the church itself. She mentioned that Father Michael was embezzling money from the congregation for a sinister purpose, secretly accumulating large sums. David read each line with a racing heart, absorbing every word. "He's stealing from the faithful," one entry read, "and I fear what will happen if I reveal the truth." No one could have imagined that Father Michael, a figure meant to represent goodness and faith, would end up in such a humiliating and desperate situation. David approached the crowd, still catching his breath, and began to share in detail everything he had uncovered. People listened intently as he spoke about the secrets Hannah had discovered. David explained that Hannah had found out that Father Michael was embezzling the congregation's donations, using the money for some hidden purpose. He also revealed how the priest had orchestrated Hannah's kidnapping to silence her. Some villagers, shocked by what they were hearing, stepped forward to help restrain Father Michael. Determined to prove his claims, David led them back to the church, holding a small metal box that felt heavy with the truth he was about to unveil. He opened the box to reveal stacks of money, neatly organized and labeled with the names of the faithful who had donated. Shock rippled through the crowd as they murmured to one another, astonished to see the evidence of the priest's wrongdoing. David then showed them the key he had found, explaining that it led to a secret storage room within the church. With the crowd following him, he guided them to the storage room where Hannah, still weak, was chained. Seeing her there, alive, a wave of relief and surprise washed over everyone. Hannah, exhausted but grateful, could hardly believe she was safe. Duke, the loyal dog, rushed to her, wagging his tail joyfully as if he sensed his friend was finally out of danger. The scene was heartwarming, and everyone watched with a mix of emotion and relief as Hannah was finally safe and the truth was revealed. Despite Father Michael's attempts to defend himself, no one wanted to hear his excuses. The community, once devoted and trusting, now clearly recognized who he truly was. The priest's words no longer held any weight, as everyone had witnessed the truth with their own eyes. David and Duke had uncovered the dark side of someone they would never have suspected.